This is Wine, and it's time for another course in civilian urban snaz. Let's face the facts. There are bars all over downtown DC that cater to every possible theme and desire anybody can come up with. You have your run-of-the-mill dives, your martini bars, your yuppie hangouts, your honking tonks, piano bars, karaoke clubs, country clubs, pay out the ass clubs, smoky pubs, and microbreweries among the countless other creative gin joints and beer royales scattered around. Luckily, though, the wine bar scene is beginning to take root and flourish like good Cabernet grapes just before the harvest. I can count close to, let's say at least half a dozen wine bars in downtown DC alone, let alone the surrounding metro area, so you don't have to go too far to get a good glass of wine. Now, while not all of them cater to the Virginia or Maryland stock exclusively, there's still a good stock of exotic reds, whites, rosés, and bubblies for you to try. And it's wine bars like that brought me to the Urbana restaurant and wine bar. Now, I'll be honest and admit that I had not heard much about Urbana other than it was on the Washington Post or other insider groups that dot the internet. I know it was labeled as one of DC's more prominent restaurants and bars, but I still had not had a chance to see it for myself. Luckily, though, I got to team up with DC Christina, an old friend and fellow blogger, to scope the place out. She knew I was big on the wine scene, and plus we hadn't seen each other in several years, so I was definitely not averse to a little reconnaissance as well as some good boozing and schmoozing. Now, Urbana is located next to the Hotel Palomar on P Street, sandwiched between 21st and 22nd Street, in the DuPont Circle area of Northwest DC. It's a short walk from both the DuPont Circle and the Foggy Bottom metro stops, but is a lot shorter of a walk, or stagger, from the DuPont stop. Now, DuPont itself is a pretty classy area to begin with. There are some hotels, very nice hotels in the area, exotic restaurants, bars, and historic landmarks, like the famous Brickskeller Inn, all within a short hike of each other. So whoever came up with the phrase, location, 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 was not lying in Urbana's behalf. Urbana is located in a prime spot to reach out to both the tourists, the travelers, and the business people. Now, the atmosphere is fairly stereotypical for a bar in Northwest DC. Let your imagination run wild and I'll fill in the blanks. We're talking dim light and the intimate sort, not the smoky pub sort. We're also talking dark wood paneling, plush couches, high back chairs, and strange stools that resemble ottomans. Right, we're talking 100% commitment here. Now, the staff are all impeccably dressed, but most of the patrons, from what we could see, including DC Christine and myself, were all business casual. So you could get away with it if you're in jeans and a collared shirt. Nobody would bat an eye. I won't delve too much into the food, as, once again, it was fairly stereotypical for a Northwest restaurant/bar. You have your exotic soups, your salads, your mussels, your steaks, your flatbreads, and your Wolfgang Puck-inspired pizzas. Big deal, I see that a lot of places. But of course, like any place that's labeled as a wine-themed bar, you have got to have a good selection of cheese and charcuterie, and that was the first thing I looked for. The selection was standard at best, but from what I could see, everything looked pretty tasty. Now, I was a little bit thrown off and confused by the fact that Urbana is listed as a wine bar. When I think wine bar, I think of a very small enclave of beers and hard liquors, but most of it is catered, well, to wine. Now, Urbana's Wines by the Glass list was nice, with about 8 different reds, I want to say, about 8 different whites, 3 rosés, and a small selection of sparklings as well. And you could get this by the half glass, the full glass, or the carafe. That's always nice. The Wines by the Bottle selection was also very impressive. It was about 2 pages, broken down by country with different wines per country, with prices that were, once again, very stereotypical for a bar with an acute case of the snaz. Now, what did throw me off was A, the fact the cocktail list was almost as long as the Wines by the Glass list, and B, the fact that the beer selection was on the same page as the Wines by the Glass list. Now, maybe my mind works a little bit differently, but I was expecting more emphasis on the wines and instead got an equal opportunity employer for both the booze and the beers. Seriously, when you walk down the stairs into the bar area, you see the gin and vodka and booze bottles lined up like glass bowling pins behind the bar, and that is not something I think of when I think of a wine bar. All in all, I give Urbana Restaurant and Wine Bar 3.5 out of 5 stars. Maybe my expectations were too high. Who knows? It was a nice place and a fun experience, but nothing mind-blowing. Once again, when I think of something called a wine bar, I think of an 80% emphasis on wine and about 20% emphasis on all the other various accoutrements that come with it. With Urbana, I want to say, probably a 60-40 ratio of wines to accoutrements. It's almost remind me faintly of, say, Vidalia, Tavern Inn, or the late Mio restaurant. Now, the wine was good. The wine was very good, and the prices were reasonable. Also, the staff was very friendly and very attentive and answered all our questions to the best of their abilities. I once again had to ask the question what the oakiest Chardonnay was on the menu, and they knew right off the bat. That sets this place apart from other bars in the area. I guess just what it comes down to is the fact that I cannot see Urbana being aimed at the wine crowd. It seems to be more of a place where you would go with your coworkers or buddies for a couple of rounds after work before going someplace or home for dinner. That's fine, but if you want to go to a wine bar, go to Sonoma in Southeast or take the trip out to Arlington to go to Screwtop. Now, despite what I've had to say about it, Urbana was not a bad place. I liked it. I'll probably go back. I can just see myself going there rather for a glass of scotch as opposed to a glass of wine. So, in conclusion, until my next entry, to adhere to an old Spanish proverb, with wine and hope, anything is possible. Cheers.